at noon, city officials released the results of an investigation into that deadly ambulance explosion in Kailua last year. Honolulu EMS says the exact cause could not be determined, but the investigation found the origin of the fire to be the portable oxygen cylinder's regulator assembly. Now, they say possible causes could have been contamination or particulates within the oxygen cylinder, but it is still unknown. Now, the incident happened on August 24th of last year outside Adventist Health Castle. The explosion killed a 91-year-old patient and seriously injured paramedic Jeff Wilkinson, who continues to recover at home. Now, our web team is going through the final report right now, and Honolulu EMS will be holding a media availability, so we'll have much more on this story online and on later editions of Hawaii News Now.
Definitely a tragic story that we've been keeping our eye on since it happened. Thank you, everyone, for joining us here on This Is Now. We're going to look to some other news of the day. The Federal Reserve had a tough choice to make during its two-day meeting in Washington: raise interest rates in order to combat inflation or keep them the same in order to ease the stress on the banks and the economy. Skylar Henry has more.
The Federal Reserve announced it's raising interest rates by 1/4 percentage point to combat inflation.
We are committed to restoring price stability, and all of the evidence says that the public has confidence that we will do so, that we'll bring inflation down to 2% over time.
With the upheaval in the banking system, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the Fed considered leaving rates unchanged, but settled on a lower rate increase.
In principle, as a matter of fact, you can think of it as being the equivalent of a rate hike, or perhaps more than that. Of course, it's not possible to make that assessment today with any precision whatsoever.
Higher interest rates means it'll cost more to borrow money. That could cause some banks to pull back on loans, putting further strain on the economy.
If banks pull back on their lending and borrowing is lessened and individuals and businesses have less money to spend in the economy, we could see a slowdown that would lead to a recession.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen defended the recent decision to rescue even the uninsured depositors at two recently failed banks.
We took actions to protect all depositors at the two failed institutions and provide additional liquidity for banks. This was designed to mitigate risks to the banking system.
Chair Powell acknowledged that the banking upheaval would likely result in less lending and higher unemployment. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Washington.
For more on this development now, we are joined by Hawaii News Now's White House correspondent, John Decker. Aloha, John. Thank you so much for joining us today. What does this interest rate hike tell us about how Jerome Powell views the U.S. economy right now?
Well, the Fed chair is balancing two competing interests. One, stress in the banking sector, and of course, high interest rates. That's the reason why I think the Fed split the difference in this quarter rate interest rate hike. He sees over the course of the next year a slight decline in our GDP growth, America's GDP growth. In addition to that, he sees a slight downward ticking as it relates to inflation. Right now it's at 6%. The goal is to get inflation down to 2%, but that's going to take some time. Overall, Jerome Powell sees good things in the U.S. economy, particularly on the employment front.
Now, how does this rate hike affect consumers? For example, people trying to take out mortgage loans, grocery shopping. What does all of this look like?
Well, there's a lag, but we see with the quarter rate hike in the Fed funds rate, the lag often affects the mortgage rates that Americans pay for getting a mortgage for new or pre-owned homes. And in addition to that, you're talking about rate hikes as it relates to new and pre-owned automobiles. So that's something to keep in mind. As it relates to the Fed fund rate hike with interest rates, the goal is to bring those inflation rates down. We've seen a slight downward movement on that front, but not to the point where you're really recognizing it every time you fill up your gas tank or going to the grocery store.
And last question for you today, John. Did the Fed provide any insight into how much longer this inflation will be at record high levels?
Well, it's going to be at the record high levels that we've seen, Dylan, through the course of this year. We're now at 6%. That is indeed near a record high level. It's come down from the 7% level that we saw just a few months ago, but still that's not satisfactory to people in terms of what they're seeing for the items that they typically purchase at the grocery store. So you're looking at about an 18-month time frame in terms of bringing interest rates down in a significant fashion, certainly not down to 2%, but certainly a lot lower from where they are right now, Dylan.
Keeping an eye on all the numbers is Hawaii News Now's White House correspondent, John Decker. Thank you so much for joining us here today, John. Aloha.
The 23-year-old man accused of beating his landlord to death appeared virtually in court today. Kendall Gray was charged with second-degree murder yesterday for brutally attacking 64-year-old Alvin Matsumoto. The incident happened near Ala Moana on Sunday afternoon. Court documents say Matsumoto told a witness that he was going to evict Gray from a unit at 620 Sheridan Street. Authorities say they reviewed surveillance video that showed the suspect stomping on Matsumoto's head and chest area multiple times while Matsumoto laid motionless within the building's stairwell. Gray's preliminary hearing is scheduled for Friday, and his bail was confirmed at $1 million.
Starting today, Honolulu police will begin issuing warnings to red light runners at the intersection of a deadly hit and run on Kapi'olani Boulevard. Crews installed red light cameras near the crosswalk where 16-year-old Sarah Yara was killed. The alleged driver, Mitchell Miyashiro, has a record of more than 160 traffic violations. The warnings for red light runners will last 30 days, and after that, they'll be cited. Raised speed humps are also being installed this week.
Maui County Mayor Richard Bisson delivered his first State of the County address last night, and one of the big announcements was an agreement for the long-awaited opening of the new Kulani Hako'i High School in Kihei. It's been delayed because a required pedestrian overpass was not built, but Bisson says he asked Governor Josh Green for a deal to let construction move forward.
After speaking with Governor today, he's expected to sign the indemnification this week, and the county will then be able to issue the much-awaited temporary certificate of occupancy.
Today, Governor Green announced the Land Use Commission will issue a temporary certificate of occupancy to the DOE in exchange for the state temporarily indemnifying the county. That allows for students to attend in-person classes, and the DOE will still move ahead with building the overpass. Mayor Bisson also spoke about affordable housing, saying he's proposing an increase to the Affordable Housing Fund from 3% to an 8% contribution of certified real property tax revenue, which equates to about $43 million. He's also calling for a reduction in property taxes paid for all owner-occupied homes that are valued at up to $3 million. He submits his budget to the council on Friday.
A 63% raise for city council members. That's the recommended pay bump from the city's salary commission. After hours of debate and public testimony, the commission voted to recommend a yearly salary of $113,000. That's the lowest tier of wage increases proposed by the commission. The highest would nearly double city council salaries to $135,000 a year.
There's a lot of them out there that ain't doing nothing for the community besides when the camera's on. And that's the truth. And I see this all in the news. I see people's public comments and everything saying that they're overworked, they're putting in so much hours. Well, then if you can't do the job, find somebody else that can do it. Because it's people like myself that are volunteering and do these type of jobs for free because we give a damn about the people and we give a damn about Hawaii.
CBS News is reporting that the grand jury investigating former President Trump is nearly done with its work, but there's no timeline for announcements. So it's a waiting game for Mr. Trump and the various law enforcement agencies who are bracing for protests. Michael George has more.
Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg arrived at a New York courthouse Wednesday, but law enforcement sources tell CBS News the grand jury considering whether to indict former President Donald Trump was told to stay home. The grand jury is looking into allegations Trump may have falsified records to hide campaign finance violations in connection with the 2016 payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels. Trump, who's running for president in 2024, says the entire investigation is politically motivated.
Our enemies are desperate to stop us.
The former president has called on his supporters to protest. He's also using the case to raise money.
This former president knows how to spin things his way and how to turn something that's straw into gold.
While the wait continues, the former president's plane could be seen being serviced on the tarmac in Florida. The grand jury typically meets on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. It's unclear if it will convene tomorrow. Police are on high alert for the possibility of violence from pro-Trump extremists. There's a heavy police presence outside the courthouse. There are also extra security measures in place in front of Trump Tower. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
A shooting at a high school in Denver, Colorado Wednesday left 2 adult faculty members wounded. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock says one of the victims was rushed to surgery and is in critical condition. The other is stable and able to talk about what happened. Police say the shooting happened at East High School. Paramedics were on the school campus responding to a student medical issue when the shooting occurred. The police chief says the male suspect, who is a student under 18, was on a, quote, safety plan. He had to be patted down by school officials each day before he was allowed to attend class. The chief says they found a handgun during the search, and that's when several shots were fired and struck the 2 school administrators. The suspect is believed to have ran away from the scene. A citywide search is underway to find him. Meanwhile, those with ties to the school are expressing their frustration.
I just want to point out that this is the fourth major incident here at East High. The Denver School Board is failing us, and it's really a problem. We have the shooting, involved 3 East students right here at Carla Madsen. They disclaim that, say it's far away. It's school property, basically. It's right in front of the school. Then we have a swatting incident a week later. Then we have the shooting of Luis Garcia, and we just had his funeral on Saturday. How much more is it going to take before people start realizing this place is a ticking time bomb?
The school will be out of session for the rest of the week. 2 armed officers will also be placed on campus for the remainder of the year.
A homeless man in need of medical attention spent days on a sidewalk outside the state's largest hospital. As Eddie Dowd reports, several strangers came to the man's aid, and we want to warn you, some of the images you may see are disturbing.
You feel there or no? A little bit.
Tiana Wilbur works at the state capitol, not the Queens Medical Center. But when she learned a homeless man in poor health had been lying for more than a week outside the ER surrounded by flies and ants, the former medical assistant went to work caring for him.
I was definitely not expecting what I seen today. There's so many complications and health concerns right here that I hope nobody ever has to live through.
Timothy Walker tells us he's been homeless for about 8 years and used to sleep outside Iolani Palace, but recently moved in front of the hospital. Timothy, why did you come outside Queens?
For help. The close proximity to the hospital is what really bothered me, I think, the most.
Robin Bond has been keeping tabs on Walker while his own dad is being treated at Queens. He says he first noticed Walker a week ago.
And I thought he might be dead because he hadn't moved.
A few days later, Bond took action.
Thursday rolled around. At this point, I called 911 and had what I thought was a solution, and they didn't take him for some reason. They said that he was combative and refused services.
The next day, Bond says he called 911 again and got Walker, who claims he has a broken hip, into the ER. About 6 hours later, Walker was back out.
They just put you back outside? What about your hip?
Told me to quit falling.
Quit falling.
That was Friday. Today, 4 days later, Walker and Bond were still looking for help.
The visual is just, it's very sad.
Now, in a statement, Queens says it is committed to the health of all the people in Hawaii and said, quote, "Our security teams routinely patrol our hospital grounds, and whenever someone is in need of resources or health care, we extend an offer of assistance."
At last check, the city's homeless outreach team took Walker to the Punavai rest stop. He was then eventually taken to Straub Medical Center for further treatment.
Walmart will be closing its Fort Street Mall and Pharmacy in downtown Honolulu come April 21st. The company said the location was underperforming. The pharmacy will help customers transfer prescriptions to other locations. Meanwhile, there were no immediate details about whether a new tenant for the location was secured.
And that really bums me out because I like that Walmart because, one, there's always parking and it's not crowded, but yeah, I guess you have to make money for the company.
You know what I miss? 24-hour Walmarts, because I like to go shopping at 2 o'clock in the morning when no one is there. I think that's what really needs to be brought back is 24-hour Walmarts. I'm one of those crazy late night shoppers.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they put there. That's a big space.
Going to be interesting for sure.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and give you guys a live look outside. This is our tower camera overlooking the beautiful city of Honolulu. There's some cloud cover today, but nothing major today, at least in terms of the weather, but maybe that could be changing later in the week. Our Guy Hoggy has your forecast.
Get those umbrellas out there. Big disturbance is pulling up moisture for the east end of the state, but we're going to see more so in the afternoon hours. We'll see some spotty downpours. We're talking statewide. Not everybody's going to get in on the rain, but there's going to be some downpours out there through tonight as well. And then tomorrow in the afternoon, we'll see the same thing. Some convective showers with that available moisture. But then by Friday, we'll see fewer showers, and over the weekend, even drier conditions. But heads up, next week, another disturbance forms, so it could be another wet one by the middle of next week. But for today, we'll see some spotty showers through tomorrow for those interior spots, for the leeward areas as well. Some spotty downpours. Could see some heavy rain today and tomorrow. But not everybody's going to get on the rain. It's going to be of spotty nature. And then fewer showers by Friday. The weekend is shaping up very nicely.
Well, if you want to see some improvement in air travel, you're not the only person. The federal government could soon be making those changes a reality. It's now time for Congress to reauthorize the Federal Aviation Administration's funding for the next 5 years. Washington News correspondent Brendan Cullerton has the details.
Lawmakers on both sides of the aisle say air travel this year has been pretty bumpy. Now they need to write the FAA rulebook for the next half-decade. It has been a turbulent year for airlines. Cancellations, long lines, and luggage left stuck at the baggage claim. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg says the government could soon demand better from airlines if Congress passes new aviation laws.
It's the right time for Congress to be working across the aisle and with us on improving the passenger experience.
Buttigieg says he's pushing for reforms he has put on the DOT customer service dashboard, from complimentary hotels during an overnight delay to free rebooking after a cancellation and guaranteeing parents can sit with their kids for no extra charge.
It's hard enough to be flying with kids when you don't also have to discover at the gate that you're going to be expected to pay extra just to sit next to your own kids.
Congress is holding a hearing on FAA reauthorization and funding. House Aviation Subcommittee Chairman Garrett Graves says it's not just companies. He says outdated government air traffic control technology makes it harder for airlines to track planes, leading to safety concerns and poor customer experience.
I mean, how many times have we gone to the airport and rushed there only to find out later that we're going to have to wait 2 hours whenever that information was actually available hours before, and it just wasn't shared with passengers because of in many cases, the government's delays.
Graves says Congress is also looking into keeping the airspace safe with so many more drones flying, and even looking into dimensions of the cabin for travelers.
Seat size, aisle size, the pitch of the seats, all those things often come up.
Current funding for the FAA runs out at the end of September. In Washington, I'm Brendan Cullerton.
I gotta say, Dylan, I haven't been flying often because I just had a baby, but I gotta say, it seems gnarly out there with cancellations and weather and turbulence.
Yes, the winter season, holidays, it kind of was a mess. So hopefully some positive change comes from all of that.
Hopefully. We'll see. We'll keep an eye on that.
Yeah.
Well, time for some good news, you guys. Hawaii's service industry leaders are hosting the 3rd annual Hotel and Restaurant Show this week. It's a chance for these local businesses to learn about the latest trends and technology. We sent our Casey Lund down there to check it out.
Aloha from the Hawaii Convention Center. A big deal that this show is back at the Convention Center. Of course, it was here last year, but started in 2019 and then had 2 years off because of the pandemic. And so much of what is being shown here is the latest technology, the latest trends in both the hotel, lodging, and restaurant, our service industries. A lot of vendors, about 200 different companies. So a really cool show, and we're seeing some cool stuff already this morning. We're here at USA Robotics. I'm with Trapper Perkins. He's Vice President for USA Robotics Services. Trapper, tell us a little bit about what we've got right here on the Convention Center floor.
Yes, we've partnered with a bunch of different companies to bring technology to be able to help markets and so forth. We've got
delivery robots, like we've got 2 from a company called Keenan. So we've kind of brought these to Hawaii so that we can deploy in some restaurants. We've got, if you see it over here, we've got a robot that we utilize in a lot of hotels.
That's not just a Roomba.
It's like a Roomba on steroids. Yeah. And then we've got other solutions such as this one in the back where it's more for hospitality in the sense that these can actually go up elevators and basically call different rooms. So it actually can take for room service and you don't actually need a person. So it helps with timing, helps with just staffing and so forth.
And efficiency. And Ted Davenport is CEO of USA Robotics. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about, of course. Maybe the kind of philosophy of robotics in the service industry. I think when you mention that, it maybe gives people some scare. But it's not necessarily the idea to replace people altogether, right? This is about making things more efficient, right?
Absolutely. I'm also in the restaurant industry. I own Ruby Tuesdays, Girokaku, and we deployed in Kapolei, Girokaku, and we also deployed in Ruby Tuesdays, Moanalua. It was there to help enhance the service for our customers and also for our employees. We let these guys do the hard work. The service robots will take the dishes to the dish pit, will pick up the food and bring it to the tables, keeps the servers on the floor, and it helps the customers because now the servers get to talk to the customers and your sales go up. So their average check goes up, they can do more tables. And it really helps. These, like this Whiz right here, is great for hotels. So a maid who's so busy trying to turn rooms, this guy could be doing all the hallways and cleaning the hallways for her. So she didn't have to do that, that work. That's tedious work that a lot of people don't want to do.
Yeah. My other question, really quickly, because we're almost out of time. If folks are interested in these, they see these and like, hey, maybe I want to make that investment. You have these ready to go here in Hawaii? What's the timeline if you want to?
Yes, we do. We do have some of the service robots. The Whiz, we can order it and it can come in days.
And I know Ted also told me you can lease those. There's leasing options for those. Really interesting stuff here at the Convention Center. USA Robotics, thank you, gentlemen. We've got more to show you. Of course, you can learn more also online at hawaiinewsnow.com. For now, we'll send things back to you.
Such technology these days.
Yeah.
My goodness.
We need a robot that folds and puts away laundry.
I feel like they have that in Japan. Do they not?
Really?
I feel like I've seen that online somewhere.
Of
I
course
don't know.
the Japanese
Could be wrong.
thought of it.
Yeah. I would like a robot to put on this newscast every day. That would be great. We could just come in and do that.
What would we do?
We would deliver it, so we'd read it. But,
I see. They do all the, got it.
No, we've got a great team here putting together this show every single day. So big thanks to them. And in fact, one of our producers found this next story. Let's take you now to Las Vegas. Take a look at this, guys. This is going to be not just a sculpture or a statue. This is a hotel.
Wow.
It is a guitar-shaped hotel. It is up and coming, and it's going to replace the volcano at the Mirage on the Las Vegas Strip. Hard Rock International plans to build the 660-foot tall tower and be part of its $1 billion deal to buy Mirage's operations from MGM Resorts. Now, the new hotel and tower will total almost 1.44 million square feet of space and include a casino floor, stores, and restaurants. And the hotel itself will have 600 hotel rooms and over 37 floors. And that's what it's essentially going to look like.
It's beautiful.
It's massive.
Yeah, it's definitely going to change the character of the Strip. I think
really
for the
will.
better.
Yeah, it's going to be something interesting. And in downtown, the Cirque Hotel, that's the new talk of the town as well.
Oh,
so,
Circa, yes.
Yeah, a lot of people are talking about this one. And on the Strip, this is going to be the new talk of the town there. Hey, guys, that's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for joining us here on This Is Now. Ashley is back, first at 4.
See ya.